Hi, welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. My name is Ivan Verlaan, and I'm a cinematographer and a colorist based here in Toronto. Today I'm going to go over how to do a remote interview setup where your subject is looking directly at camera, just like this. We take the interviewer's image and place it on a teleprompter in front of the subject. Then, the subject's image goes on another teleprompter for the interviewer. This kind of setup was pioneered by documentarian Errol Morris, and his wife Julia Sheehan coined the term Interrotron. Now our twist here is that the two people are in two totally different locations and they're talking over the internet. So why is this useful? Well, for some documentaries, you want a sort of intimate, directly speaking to the audience feel, and that's going to be a conscious choice on behalf of the filmmaker. And of course, over the last year, we've all gotten used to doing Zoom and Skype meetings to remotely meet with people. Now, this got me thinking, we could use the Interrotron teleprompter setup to create a Zoom-style interview, but at a much higher quality. So why go through the trouble? Well, to me, the main argument is that it increases the quality and gives editing options in post. So if I'm recording this in camera locally, you've got a very high quality source with just me isolated as a subject. So that's an angle that an editor can cut to, and they can even reframe to give additional editing possibilities. And that's very helpful when you're trying to cut speech from somebody who isn't used to being in front of camera. For example, I'm cutting this video up a lot to cover flubs because I don't like being in front of camera. Another minor benefit that you're going to get is a nicer eye line. So webcams are typically positioned a little bit above a computer screen, and that means that your subject is going to be looking a little bit below camera at their screen and at the people that they're talking to, whereas with an Interrotron setup, your subject is going to be looking at the person who's talking to them, and that person is directly in front of the lens. So in effect, your subject is looking directly at your audience. So it's a little bit nicer. Now let's look at the basic principles and the basic components behind a setup like this, and then after the basics, I'll talk about ways that you can improve different components to get a better result. Here's an overview of what you're going to need. A computer with a solid internet connection that's running video conferencing software will act as your main hub. You'll need a microphone connected to a camera, which in turn is connected to a USB video capture device. To get your interviewer in front of the lens, you're going to mirror your computer display to a teleprompter. Any teleprompter will do, so long as it fits the size of your camera. The keystone to any good interview is good sound. So you're going to have a good quality microphone, whether it's a shotgun mic mounted on a boom pole, or it could be a lav mic on your subject. That's going to be connected into a camera, and hopefully that camera has a decent autofocus on it. Autofocus really makes the setup a lot easier. In the simplest setup, your camera is combining audio and video into a single feed, and that feed is going into your computer. Typically that's going to be an HDMI feed into a little box that converts your HDMI feed into USB, and your computer can treat that video feed as if it's a webcam. Some cameras will let you plug directly into your computer via USB. If that's available with your camera model, that's probably going to simplify the process a bit, but HDMI is fairly universal these days, so for this tutorial I'm just going to assume that's what we're doing. There are a lot of different options available to you for getting your video signal into your computer. There's $10 to $20 options available on Amazon, all the way up to several $100s for a Blackmagic system. Because there are so many different boxes available that are going to get the signal into the computer, I'm not going to go through all the different settings that you could have, but as a general rule of thumb, the more expensive units like the Blackmagic are going to be able to take a wider variety of signals from your camera and then turn it into a signal that your web conferencing software is going to like to see. Some of the more affordable units, and especially the one that I have, they really want a specific type of signal. In my case, it's a 720p signal running at 60 frames per second. And to get that condition just right, I find it's easiest to run my camera through an external screen that does cross conversion, or run a wireless video link like a Teradek system and then have the wireless video receiver do the cross conversion for me. So now that your camera is connected to your computer via USB, your video conferencing software should let you select that USB device as a web camera. The next step is to get the other side of the conversation to appear in front of the lens. The easiest thing to do is connect an HDMI cable to your computer and feed that to a portable monitor. Ideally, that portable monitor will allow you to zoom in a bit and also reposition the image so that we can get the other person in the conversation directly in front of the lens. Now, for sound monitoring, for your subject to hear the other person in the conversation, I find that it's best to use a little Bluetooth earbud like this. This avoids any feedback coming in over the microphone, but it is also possible, if you want to just avoid any Bluetooth connection issues, you can use a hardwired speaker. Just watch out that you're positioning your speaker correctly relative to your mic so that you don't get that feedback loop. Well, that's it for the basic principles. You've got your remote subject on a teleprompter screen, which is coming from your laptop. And then going the other way out, you've got your autofocus lens capturing the image, and you have a nice microphone that's being tied together by your camera and sending a feed into your computer, and Zoom, Skype, Ecamm, whatever sees that like it's a webcam. And that's all fairly straightforward. If you want to spend a little bit more time on the setup to get slightly nicer results, one of the things you can do is run your sound through a good quality preamp and external recorder. I'm using the Mix Pre 3. I think that's a great little portable unit. One thing that I've found is that these streaming platforms like Ecamm and Zoom, they do compress the audio a lot. You can hear sort of a tinniness to it. So if there is going to be post-production, it's nice to be able to sync up a really good quality audio source. Another nice thing is that the Mix Pre 3 can work as a USB audio interface. So in Zoom preferences, you're actually going to set your video source to your USB video, but then your audio source is going to be the Mix Pre 3. Another modification you can make to the setup is going wireless with your video feed. I'm using a Teradek XT system on the camera, which is speaking to an HDMI receiver on the computer side. Well, that's it for this episode. I know there was a lot of dongles and cables and possible settings. Hopefully the core concept is simple enough and you're able to make it your own. Maybe this will elevate your next Zoom call or inspire a new type of documentary interview setup. But thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you again next time.